Internet friends, and welcome to our Georgia suburban homestead. Are you ready to make some cider? So first thing we gotta do is prepare the apples. And I've already washed them. I don't think I need to explain how to wash apples to you. So now I'm coring them, removing the seeds. You don't technically have to remove the seeds, however, they have a chemical in them that produces cyanide, and you don't really want to eat a lot of cyanide. So what we're doing is we're quartering them. Take the stem out, that doesn't ferment too well. Pull that little core out. And put it in the bowl. We have gotten finished with quartering and seeding the apples, and if you will look, we have somehow or another a bowl of apples became a bowl and a half. We are going to take these apples and then make hummus, which is basically smashed apples, although we're just going to grind them in a food processor. Once we've got it a little bit brown, we put them into the bowl over here, and eventually we're probably going to end up filling both of these. We're going to grind the apples in preparation for putting them through the squeezer to extract the juice. It's a lot easier with hummus than it is with quartered apples. So, put a bunch of them in here. Up till there's nothing solid left. Check this out. You see there are lots of little bitty chips and all. Process all these. Round and round we go, where they stop, no one knows. Notice we have a new set of equipment. We have here a graduated cylinder with the hydrometer, which we're used to determine the sugar content of the apple juice. We have the airlock, and you will notice some fluid in the bottom of the airlock. This is what actually keeps bugs and fungi and everything else from coming back into the bottle. And you might find some bugs and so on by the time this finishes processing. I've got a funnel, got to be able to get it in the bottle. And you'll notice the bottle. There's some bubbles in this bottle. I've put all of these in the sanitizing solution, and as long as your sanitizing solution is still making bubbles, it's supposed to still be good. It's basically phosphoric acid that's strong enough to kill any bacteria and fungi in there as long as it's in contact for about 2 minutes. You'll get some on your skin, like I just got some on my skin touching the bottle, and all you got to do is rinse your hand off. Lisa's showing you the bottle of sanitizer. A little bit goes a very long way because it lasts for a very long time. You put 1 ounce in 5 gallons of water, and that'll do you for about a year. What you're likely to run it and do is use it up, you know, left parts of it left in the bottle and so on. And if you do a lot, there'd be bunches of it. So now we also have our squeezo. Basically, we're going to put the pomace in here. We're going to turn the crank, push it down. Juice comes out here. Pomace comes out here. Hopefully. Sometimes this thing pops off the countertop on me. So, we'll see. So, hopefully, turn the crank, shove some pomace down in there. See, there's our fluid coming out. If you're wondering why I'm using juicer, well, my Victorio Squeezo kind of exploded and I ran out of energy, which is why I don't have a hat or my shirt on, trying to cool off. So we're switching over to the juicer, and you can see I'm getting some. This is the pomace that came out of the Victorio Squeezo. It's pretty dry, compact, and I think the problem was it would just not come out of the Victorio Squeezo, and so it started building up in there until I popped it and it went flying across the kitchen, leaving a trail of apple crumbs as it went. So now we're going with the traditional juicer. I may have to put it through a couple of times, but hopefully we're going to get a good bit of juice out. And it's a lot easier on your muscles. Welcome. I'm going to empty the container here, put it through final straining, because even the juicer lets the little pulp go through. We have cleaned up a little bit after all that juicing and whatever, and you see we got about, I'd say 3/4 of a gallon from about 9 pounds of apples, which is, maybe we should have bought 12. Still, that was a lot of work, and if you don't want to go through all that work, buy a bottle of stuff already done. It will be just about as good and significantly less expensive and less work. Alright, so next we're going to check the sugar content of what we did get. So we'll pour some and make sure you don't go all the way up, because when you put this in, okay, it's hitting the bottom, so I got to put a little more in. If you can spin it, and it's not hitting the bottom. And the trick now is to be able to read the scale. And this says it's right at $15 bricks. It should produce right at 6, 7, 8% alcohol by volume, which is at the high end of what you want for doing vinegar. Because when you start your vinegar, you want somewhere between 6 and 8% alcohol by volume. You can always dilute it, but you cannot make it more concentrated. So go for the higher end of the scale, and then if you want it diluted, then you can dilute it later. If you buy a bottle of wine, the wine may be up to 15%, and you'll need to cut that in half. So go for it. Try to get 8%, which is pretty good for an apple. Put this back in. And next, we add the yeast. So Lisa and I have decided we're going to do this separately, and then we're going to put this in a bottle and do it too. I don't know what the sugar content of that is, but we'll figure it out the same way. You can see how dark this is. And in fact, I may see one small piece of apple in there. But it's probably got some pulp, and if we were all the way to full, we run the risk of all that collecting at the top, and then the bubbles and the gas generated start pushing it up in here. And I've actually had some cider end up coming up into my air trap, and it becomes kind of a mess. So having a half a bottle isn't a bad thing. You can top it up if you want. If you want to buy some of this, top it up. It's up to you. But next up, we'll put some yeast into it, and we'll be ready. So we're about to put the yeast in. This package is good enough for 5 gallons. We've got 3/4 of a gallon, so we need the whole thing. And of course, I can't get into it. would probably get almost explosive. This is probably a quarter of a teaspoon. I like getting bubbles that I can have a top to. Good agitation. The yeast likes to have a little bit of oxygen initially to come out of dormancy. So you're in a good shape. Mix it all in. Helps the yeast out. Okay, don't forget to put that on there instead. And now we wait. Alright, so as I said in the introduction, this is champagne yeast. Champagne yeast makes a pretty good apple cider. Doesn't add a lot of off flavors like a beer yeast or a bread yeast will. So get yourself some wine, some champagne yeast. I think it's about $1. So we're going to measure this cider that we bought.
The juice or cider?
Well, this is called cider because it is unfiltered and unpasteurized. This is going to produce about a 6 3/4% alcohol by volume, which is good enough for vinegar. Again, you want the vinegar to be between 8 and 6% alcohol by volume, or at least your starting stuff.
Pumice.
You can feed it to the chickens. You can dry it and try to eat it later. You can put it in muffins. Or you can add a little apple juice back to it and try making some vinegar out of it too. And possibly jelly, although this is more of a jam, because jelly is made out of the more like this. This. So, if you like our video, please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit like and come back for stage 2. This is actually stage 2 starting here. Stage 1, creating the fermentable fluid. Stage 2, converting the fermentable fluid into alcoholic fluid. And stage 3, converting the alcoholic fluid into vinegar.
How long would this take?
Given the amount of sugar amount of yeast I put in, it should take 2 to 3 weeks. So, I'll see you in 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll go over the third step. Thank you. Come back. See you later.